everyone, and welcome back to yet another feature by TheCapitalNet TV. I'm Apoorva, and today we have for you Mr. Martin Hunter. Mr. Martin Hunter essentially dons multiple caps, but today we are going to inundate him with the questions. Being a managing partner in an organization that sort of drives operational excellence in investment ecosystem, innovation ecosystem, and the startup ecosystem. Thank you, Martin. Thank you so much for taking our time for TheCapitalNet TV. It is lovely to have you here.
Fabulous. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, perfect. Martin, if you can give our viewers a little bit background about yourself and what you do, it would be great.
I am the managing partner of URGEO. What we do, oh my goodness, that is a question that we're still deliberating on. But you can, from the audience that we're talking to, you can consider us a IMO, an integration management office. And we really specialize on operational excellence that we deliver through what we call behavior-based leadership. So we help PCs, VCs, family offices, when they have a group or an organization or portfolio, really help the company scale up, grow, evolve. We also deal with investment bankers who say, hey, listen, we've got a few companies, or we've got a company that's came up to us. They're missing a few key ingredients to be able to be really attractive to strategic buyers. Would you be so kind as to fine tune, think of us as mechanics in a garage where we shine up the cars, we change the parts, we actually sometimes remove the driver, as we'll talk later on. But really what we do at URGEO is we really help the organization scale through three ways: organically, optimization, or inorganically through M&As.
You've always done the heavy lifting. And because you have worked in a space where you've been a soldier, you've been a corporate junkie, and you were an entrepreneur, and now you're an enabler of the ecosystem, how have you seen operational excellence evolve in the pretext of this digital transformation era that we are over here, and the technology, the technology boom that the ecosystem is seeing right now? How have you seen this operational landscape evolve?
Automation. So when you think of what is truly the goal for a lot of people, is we talk about direction, elimination, automation for the liberation of time and resources. So automation through Asana, we use Monday.com, you've got Bamboo. There's so many tools out there that have helped with the automation for operational excellence. Oh, what do we do? Let's reinvent the SOP. Oh, then you hired people that had a list of playbooks. They go, oh, let's use that. Now we just use software. So that is the benefit, also the downfall, but also the benefit of where we are today. The downside is that nobody really relies on the behaviors, and they think that just because by owning a system or a process, that it's going to make the company go forward. Because if you take the definition of operational excellence, is the mindset or the attribute of an organization to see, deliver, and improve the value flow to a customer. So it's not about owning 10,000 systems. It's how do I see it? How do I deliver? And how do I prove the value that I bring to customers?
So no, that's a very important point that you've brought out, that it's about, basically driving that value, especially for the customers. So now, speaking of customers, when we see it from a company perspective, right? How does the core team of a company look like for a company that is sort of pivoting and sort of integrating this operational excellence into their entire business model?
The functional accountability and process accountability is critical to singularity of purpose, meaning that when nobody does, so when we start with, we don't do as many startups as we used to, but startups, I love it when a young entrepreneur comes to us and says, I'm the CEO. Well, you're not the CEO of nothing. You're the chief everything officer. There's like two people working. So you're not a chief executive officer. You're not, okay? You're just the owner who's working his butt off to get there. So the point is, when you start growing the business, it's very important to understand, or scaling, who's responsible for what, when, and then who owns the process. Because business is simple. You take a product, you add value, you sell the product with value. Regardless if it's a service, if it's a widget, that's what business is about. Is I say, okay, what need do I fill by taking something raw
Hmm.
I mean, raw in the most business kind of sense, basics. And then I add my value to it. I transform this raw ingredient or materials, put them together, and then I offer that to others.
Correct.
And that's what people buy. So when people understand the process, and everybody who is responsible for a key process, it's easier to say, hey, Martin, what's going on? And I'm pointing the finger, not in the blaming, but you can go to one individual. It's very binary. It's not everybody and every time. It's like, hey, Martin, something is wrong there. You're accountable for that process. You're accountable for that function. Can you please address this?
No, makes sense, makes sense. And also there's something that you pointed out, and I wanted to get back to that, is the fact that with operational excellence that you do, there is a lot of behavioral part that comes into it, right? Like the analysis and sort of implementing it.
Mm-hmm.
While it must be very easy for startups because they're a little wet behind their ears, it's easy. How do you address it in a PEVC landscape?
Let's talk about the PVC landscape, that the portfolios they have, right? We're talking about the companies, not the PE. What happens often at times is that a PE, a family office, what they'll do is they'll do a lot of qualifications. They'll do their due diligence, they'll work hard, and they do all these testing methodologies to come up with the rationale to say, okay, yes, I will give you money.
Correct.
The number one criteria that I've always heard from everybody is like, we need a strong management team.
Mm.
And they forget that, what does a strong management team look like?
Mm.
So if I look at a lion and a zebra at a water hole, and the lion captures and kills a zebra, is that a good behavior or bad behavior? Well, it's pretty darn good for the lioness who needs to feed her cubs. Pretty shitty for the zebra, right? Now, the opposite, the lioness misses, and so therefore the zebra gets away. Pretty good for the zebra, pretty shitty for the lioness. So the point to the matter is that I can take a picture of a lion killing a zebra, or a zebra escaping a lion, right? So what are the behaviors that we want to see? Not just say, I want a strong management team. What are the behaviors that we want to see? We want to see meeting pulses. Every time, the first thing that is, do you have, core values? Because to be able to deliver a product or a service, you have to have core values that you deliver against, because it's a culture. Do you have process or functional accountability? Do you have a functional accountability chart? Where's your playbook in regards to processing? Oh, we do it this way. Well, you're not very good leaders if you're not holding the people accountable to it. If they don't have a meeting pulse, if they don't have an agenda, they have, ad hoc meetings. Those are all signs and symptoms to me that the success that I've had is market indicative, not performance indicative.
Wow. Correct. Makes sense. And I'm very curious about this point. Now that you've talked about how these are the points, where does return of investment sort of stand in these, in the playbook that you have essentially when you analyze PEVC people?
The biggest return on investment is time.
Mm.
So a lot of people say, PEs and VCs, they want to get to their investment as quickly as possible. Now, if we apply risk register, there's probability and impact. The quicker you go, the more risk you create. The more risk you create, the more chances you have of failing certain aspects. So there's a sweet spot, like a car. You get as many kilometers per hour at going at, 2,500 RPMs, so that the fuel consumption is the best. So going too slow doesn't get you there fast enough. Going too fast consumes too much gas.
Correct.
So the best thing to do is to ensure that you have effective decision making. So that means that every time a decision comes, there's a solve. So there's the EOS, so entrepreneur or operating system. They use a term called IDS, identify, discuss, and solve. Anything. So the company's ability to identify, discuss, and solve is shortened. Correct. That is the magic. So if you create everything around this great culture, this morale, the functional accountability, the process accountability, so that every decision is made effectively and you have efficient systems to process the solve.
Yeah, correct. And apart from this IDS, do we have any other metrics that the companies can look for when it comes to, operational excellence, that is?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when you look at the process, are there quality marks between delivering? So for example, sourcing the material, right? So I'm going to take CPG manufacturing is the best way to demonstrate it.
Right.
How do I get my products? How efficient and effective am I getting products?
Mm.
When they go into the holding component, are there quality markers along the line that makes sure that every time a product is handed from one individual to an internal customer,
Right.
there's a quality so that the internal customer is fine. If I have to build a Lego house and I have to hand it to you, it has to meet certain criteria. So
Right.
the best ROI to measure is how quickly or effectively, because it depends. It may be speed, maybe it's quality, whatever the higher denominator. And you look at that, and that's the return on investment. You say, okay, well, we've got a gap, or not a gap, or a hot spot where everything is funneling in and it's really slowing down the process. For the ROI, it's really evaluating the flow value to customer. If we want to bring it back to the definition, can they see, can they deliver, and can they improve the value flow to customer? And then you pick your ROIs in there.
Okay, no, that makes perfect sense, and that sort of also establishes how important OpEx is for any sort of a business to sort of succeed. So, apart from that, if you can elaborate on exactly why should a company look at integrating operational excellence into their fabric of business model?
The founder is not necessarily the best person to lead the business. You want somebody who's gone at both ends of the spectrum, right? To say, I'm going to invest in you, Susie Q, who has a great idea. You're a great founder. You're a great person. How many companies have you run? Well, I've run one and this one. Okay. So being a founder and an employee are two different things. There's too many times where the founders feel the need to lead.
Correct.
And I'll bring it back a little bit here. When we hire somebody and evaluate the performance, we always go with the acronym PASKEET: profile, attitude, skill, knowledge, and experience. Now, you might have the best skills and great idea. Do you have the experience and knowledge of a leader that has gray hair and has been around the world and has a whole bunch of tools and has a great network and has the behaviors so the answer is no. So the success that we've seen is when a founder realizes, I just need to get out of the way.
Right.
I need a job because I still need to get paid. I've got a great idea. So let's find what works well within the organization that fits your profile, your attitude, your skill, your knowledge, your experience, and your timeline. So all to say, when you're looking at a PE or VC, one of the things that is the benefit of working with an IMO with us is to say, you're paying for a SWAT team that can come in and help this. Now, we're not here for the long run, but we'll say, hey, listen, Susie Q is great. We need 6 months, 7 months, 12 months with her to bring her to COO level, but we need to hire a new CEO in 12 months from now to be able to get this company where you want to be in 5 to 7 years, right? So we're going to still mentor her, keep her part of it. She's a great operator.
Yeah.
But we need somebody who knows economics, M&A, and all that good stuff.
Yeah. And now that you've mentioned this, Martin, obviously, as you also mentioned previously, that you also sometimes remove the driver and sort of put them to the back seat, right? That's one of the challenges that comes with operational excellence. So apart from that, what are challenges are there in execution and dealing with operational excellence in such a landscape?
I think sometimes we have to undo certain things. So we always look at fixing things in the path of work, meaning that you don't necessarily want to stop everything for 60 days and say, we're stopping the whole organization for 60 days. The trick is to find the key things. We call it pick and fix. So we've got a goal. We've got a quarterly operating plan. We've got hopefully an annual operating plan, but nowadays with COVID and it's annual is way too far.
Dynamic.
Exactly. So what are some key goals and achievements that we want to put, and then we go, what's the center line? So what is the value flow to the customer? And then we pick and fix. So we always start inside out. A lot too many people go from the outside in. So we look at people, so we look at the behaviors, and we look at the systems, and then we start reverse engineering. What does the customer want, right? And that's the biggest thing, is often at times everybody's going to buy this. Are you certain? So some of the metrics, some of the things that we're really working for is reverse engineering all the way to the start by really saying, is there a place in the market for you? Right? Demonstrate that. That's number one. If 1% of 7.5 billion people is still a big, so numbers don't have to be exorbitant. Is there a place for the market? Is somebody going to purchase your service? If the answer is yes, then we kind of reverse engineer the flow to it. And then we really look at, okay, marketing goes first, growth. So how do we keep a steady growth? Then we looked at optimization. Okay, so we've got marketing, we've got sales coming in. How do we make sure that internally we looked at operations? And so what are on one side the behaviors from the people that we want and the systems that we have, and we kind of put and that's why I call it the center line. The center line is when two people, it's always like yoga. The first things that you do in yoga is you put your two hands together, because femininity and masculinity, and you put that together, and that center line is business, the behavior and the systems.
No, perfectly. And that makes sense. And you said a very right thing, that with the approach is essentially not to fix by breaking. It's fixing by repositioning and sort of finding exactly where the fit is. And with that, Martin, thank you so much. Thank you so much for taking our time and giving us such in-depth, understanding with such beautiful examples that our viewers would be able to understand exactly the why there is a pursuit of operational excellence in this landscape today. Thank you.
Fabulous. Thank you. Thank you very much. And it's hard to pinpoint, right? As we talk, you understand, but it's very difficult to say, what do you do? Well, we fix things.